Welcome to the Mindfulness of Singing, and I'm Denise, your sassy, spunky scientist.
And I'm Tony, your bubbly, big-hearted flower child.
Our podcast features practical tips and tools for a journey of transformation using the healing power of your voice.
Each podcast, we will delve into the mind, body, and spirit connection by interviewing inspirational guests, sharing personal stories, and discussing the most recent scientific research.
Tune in and join our community of mindful singers. Hey, Tony, long time no see, my friend.
My goodness, has it ever been? Lots of water under the bridge since we talked last, and lots of bridges to go over for me. Wow, mamma mia. So I'm happy to connect and share about all of our adventures. So
And we've not had a fight.
yeah, that's a good point. We should clarify that. There might be people wondering, gosh, what happened? Did those two split up?
Saying water under the bridge means there's been something turbulent that's occurred, and
Oh,
that's water under the bridge now. But we
oh.
haven't had any water under the bridge.
No, water under the bridge to me means life experiences. Interesting. But yeah, I guess that could connotate a negative. No, Denise and I have not had any water under the bridge. But I've gone over a lot of bridges, literally the literalist in me with water underneath them. That's what I meant. But no, all is well in our world, and we've just taken a break, and we're happy to be back and happy to share. I can't wait for Denise to share all the things she's learned in the mindfulness classes. And I've been on a personal journey on the road, attending a lot of mindfulness events and lots of adventure. So.
Yes. No, and we've got some interesting things brewing for the new season, right? For the next. And traveling. What Tony's referring to with her water under the bridge is that we've both traveled. Her mostly, not me. I've done very little. I've done a lot, but I have not any place exciting. She's been out of the country even. Okay. She's had a very exciting summer, and we knew we were going to take part of July and August off, but we didn't know we were going to end up having to take all of September off as well, mostly because I moved, and it's just been kind of as they say in the good place, it's been a shirt show.
A shirt show? That's cute.
Well, see, now I'll explain. Seen the show will know what I mean.
Yeah, I got it. I just didn't remember that. Thanks, Trevor. So, well, shall I jump in first, or would you like to?
No, you go. Let's hear it. I want to know what you did.
Well, my mind has just been on one of my adventures that kind of webs and ties into all of the others, and that was the opportunity to attend Flow Genome Camp this summer, and we studied a book called Recapture the Rapture, Rethinking God, Sex, and Death in a World That's Lost Its Mind by Jamie Wheel. And Jamie Wheel actually led the camp, and it was a phenomenal experience. And what we did was study flow states by diving deep into 5 different activities that help us get into a flow state. And there are respiration, embodiment, music, sacraments, and sexuality. And we deep dived into all of it, and it's hard to put the experience into words. It was so rich. In fact, I was just watching a video before we met, Denise, and I'm going to share that with everyone. And it just brought back lots of smiles and memories. But one thing that happened was I was expecting us to have circus equipment where there's a geodesic dome that you can spin around in, or a swing that goes, think of the largest swing set you can imagine, and you swing all the way around and stuff like that. Well, there were issues with insurance and liability and flooding and water, and so they didn't bring all that equipment. So I was a little bit disappointed. However, the camp was still a really rich experience. But what's happened since then is in my own personal world, I have climbed the Chief, which is a mountain in Canada, with my daughter. At one point, we had to take steel cables and get up the side of the mountain and climb narrow ladders where your feet only fit, you can't even put 2 feet together, places where the rocks look like such a steep angle that you can't even imagine. And it was thrilling. Denise is like, no way, I'm not doing it. In fact, the first time we went, we had hiked forever. And I got up there and I realized I just didn't have the right kind of shoes. We had to go back down, and I did it another day. One day we hiked 36,000 steps and hiked to the top of a glacier and got in the water there. And then I rode in a hot air balloon. And probably the most exciting thing that's happened to me as far as an adrenaline rush was that last Sunday when I rode in the hot air balloon, when we finished, I happened to meet someone who skydives, and it all happened so fast that I didn't have a chance to get into a state of fear. But I found myself just a few minutes later up in an airplane watching and observing for free 3 men jump out of a plane and skydive. And the pilot took the plane, and after they jumped out, put it on its side, shut off the engine, and we did a free fall. And I squealed, and he's probably a little bit deaf now, but it was an exhilarating experience. And what does all of that have to do with mindfulness of singing and flow states? You don't have to jump out. Well, I didn't jump out of a plane yet. That's on the yet. And you don't have to, climb steep mountains, but you do have to do something that gets you out of your comfort zone, that gets you in a state of fear. And the very honest truth is that 2 days after I did that in the plane, I did an exercise. I'm a member of Toastmasters in Italy, and I was more nervous speaking in Italian for a room full of Italians. And no one's ever died speaking in a foreign language, but there have been some accidents and planes tumbling around in the air. And honestly, I was far more nervous. But all those experiences shake up our world and our energy and get us into a flow state in other areas of our life. And so that long story was to say, while I didn't get to have the circus equipment that I had envisioned getting to experience at camp, it all happened just not at camp and happened after that. And one of the things we talk about too, as far as growth and biohacking, is experiencing extremes. And when I was in extremes of hot and cold and eating and fasting and all that sort of thing, when I was in Canada, I stayed in a cabin in a rainforest where there was no light because there was no electricity. And in a rainforest, it's pretty dark, especially at night. In a foreign country with no running water, an outhouse, no food other than my ice chest, and really roughing it. And man, do you begin to experience things when the best way to experience something is to take it away. And then you have such a tremendous appreciation. So I've been talking for a long time, and I have so much more I could say. But Denise, would you like to jump in?
No.
Okay. Well, that's a rare moment when she's just that matter of fact. Well, she's always matter of fact, but with a no. And so I guess, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I admire your courage. I have a terrible fear of heights, and I would be left on that mountain because my feet would not move. They just don't high somewhere. They will not move. They're like bricks. So I don't know, girl, but you do it. Just don't tell me the day you're going to jump out of a plane. Do not tell me.
Okay. That's a deal. That's a deal.
In fact, I do not want to know.
That's fine. I will. And I sent some pictures of me. You can tell I'm super stoked. And I've got a parachute on because you do have to wear a parachute if you're in a plane with the door opening up. But no, I didn't jump out of the plane. But I had enough adrenaline rushes if I did. But the point of the camp was to grow up, show up, and be more in every area of your life. And so when I was going through my notes and kind of reminiscing on all the rich experiences, there were so many recommendations for videos and movies and things. And I read a poem and I thought, this really sums up what's happened in my life. And there have been a lot of things that I've been afraid of. And this has nothing to do with mindfulness of singing, but being alive does inspire other things in your life. And I'm dating again, which hadn't happened in a long time. And I'm having a blast. And as I said, it has nothing to do with mindfulness of singing, but it has to do with embracing our fears and being mindful. And so this poem, I hope, will inspire all of us, myself included. I think it's a beautiful poem, and you may recognize it by the time I get to the end of it. So it goes like this. People are often unreasonable, illogical, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you are successful, you will win some false friends and some true enemies. Succeed anyway. If you are honest and frank, people may cheat you. Be honest and frank anyway. What you spend years building, someone could destroy overnight. Build anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, they may be jealous. Be happy anyway. The good you do today, people will often forget tomorrow. Do good anyway. Give the world your best you have, and it may never be enough. Give the world the best you've got anyway. You see, in the final analysis, it is between you and your God. It was never between you and them anyway.
That's a good poem. I like that.
Isn't that beautiful? And the author is Mother Teresa. So love anyway, even if you risk being hurt or things that scare you. I'm going to do something tomorrow not as dramatic as flying in a plane with skydivers, but it's going to scare me. And I used to have something in my mirror that said, do something every day that scares you. And I think it does cause you to wake up. And in fact, I shared in a story that we did a singing exercise, that improvisational thing, and it just opened the floodgates for experiencing other improvisational things. And I've even gotten my courage up and gotten an interface mixer and microphones, and I'm playing and doing things I've never done before and surprising myself and actually having fun. So I hope that all of my journey will encourage others to do it anyway, whatever you're afraid of. So that's
on that mountain.
Except climbing that mountain. Well, and the mountain can be a metaphor for something else. It doesn't have to be, in this instance, it doesn't have to be a literal mountain. Believe me, that when I gave my speech in Italian, and now I'm going to be the Toastmaster next time, they keep giving me harder jobs, but when I gave my complete speech in Italian, my leg was shaking more than any concert I'd ever done, because I couldn't improvise very easily on the spot with a speech when it's not my native tongue. So
yeah, no, I'd be really nervous. One time I was taking French, and it was my third year of French, and I was pretty good at French generally. I mean, not fluent, not like you are in Italian, but it was certainly okay. And the person I was with, we were at a hotel, and it was for some sort of a conference or something. I can't remember, but anyway, she said to the guy, because they had their name on their name tag and underneath it where they were from, and he had Paris there. And she was like, "Oh, my friend's just finished her third year of French. She speaks French." He started talking to me in French. And I mean, I broke out in this cold, hideous sweat and just went, I mean, I could not make anything work, because I was so I can't imagine what it would be like. And that's not usually my personality. So I can't.
Exactly. It's not Denise's personality at all.
Surprise. And I didn't have a chance to like plan what I was going to say or whatever. But so I can't imagine doing an entire speech or being a Toastmaster in another language that's not your first. And if something goes wrong or whatever, you have to think on your feet, and that would make me nervous. Yeah, for sure. But so what, all the things that you were just talking about, and I'm pretty fearless. Like, I was just sitting here thinking, what would I do tomorrow if I were going to do something and be afraid?
That's a great question.
I mean, something that would be readily available to me. Like,
Right.
mean, I don't mind hiking up the mountain, but I might not hike up the cliff. You know what I mean? Like I
Right.
no problem going on hikes and going up the mountain. I don't know about, the straight face of a Rocky or whatever.
And it's a slope that you're climbing like this, where you could easily
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, no. Especially up rock, where you have no real footing and that sort of thing. No, I can't imagine. But I don't know what I would do tomorrow if I had to think of something. Well, I do have something coming up this week that I will tell you that well, okay. So I have always suffered a bit, sometimes more than others, with some performance anxiety. It's funny because in the operas that I've been in, or the musicals that I've been in, I don't have that kind of fear in those. Like I feel like it's a team effort. There's lots of people on stage. There are a lot of people around to bail you out if something happens. I've been lucky enough to be a part of amazing casts where the lead, whoever was the lead with me, or maybe I wasn't the lead and I was a supporting person, and the lead knew everybody's lines. Like I don't get that person, but knew not only their lines, but everybody else's, and could whisper your line to you. I've been really lucky in that. And that gives a certain sense of security, knowing that there's people around you and putting on a costume. I mean, it's just different. But
You get to become somebody else.
yeah, but it's just different. You're not facing out into an audience of people that are coming specifically to hear you.
Oh, I'm agreeing with you. I get the difference.
Yeah, no, I know you do. But and then also you're bearing your own voice for people to listen to for an hour, 40 minutes, 45 to 50 minutes, or whatever, an hour and 15, whatever it is your recital is. And it's just you and a piano, more than likely. Maybe you might have a few other instruments, but it's a very naked way to be on a stage.
Vulnerable.
Super vulnerable, I mean, for me, it just feels like I've walked out in nothing but high heels and my nakedness. Like it.
That's a good way to sum it up.
And I've struggled with it throughout my career as a singer, and I've always done them every year. When I was at the University of Toledo, I sang a recital every year, but sometimes I would include like other faculty, or we would do something like that. But and that always made me feel a little bit better too, having other faculty. But on my own, all completely memorized, 4 or 5 languages represented. My biggest fear was not that my voice would break or give out on me, or that I might not sing very well. I always could depend on my voice. I mean, that doesn't mean everybody likes my voice. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I didn't have to worry about something technically with my voice not being right. High notes, whatever. I mean, I just sang. But memory slips were always my biggest fear. And, we talk about that a little bit in the book, but so I won't give that away. But I will just say that I'm doing one Thursday night for the very first time. Thank you. For under pressure, though, I must say, my chair, my department pushed me to do it. And
you didn't volunteer and say, "Hey, after all this COVID time, I'm ready to do a recital."
Right. And before COVID, I was going to do a Spanish recital with a Spanish guitarist on campus, and so I mean, we were going to do that, but then COVID happened, and it didn't happen, and then you feel you can't really, you don't feel like you can practice with people and put them in danger, right? Singers, super spreaders, all that went down, and so anyway, so Thursday I am doing something that's going to take me out of my comfort zone a little bit, and that is do a recital. And I did figure out a long time ago. Well, not that long ago, but a while ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago. I mean, that's not that long ago considering how long I've been a singer. But I had an audition for an opera company, and it was an invitation, and I went. And the whole time I was like, I hope I'm not going to be nervous. I hope I'm not going to be nervous. I hope I'm not going to be nervous. Oh my God, what if I'm nervous? What if I'm really nervous? And that's a really stupid question to ask yourself when you've never not been nervous. Like, what? That's like,
what are the odds? Huh.
Yeah, that's like saying, I hope I'm not going to be hungry. I hope I'm not going to, God, what if I'm hungry? Like, I am going to be hungry. I've been hungry before every day around the same times, in fact. And I realized how dumb it was, like just how silly I was being by going, gosh, what if I hope I'm not nervous. Gosh, what if I'm nervous? I hope I'm not nervous. To just go, yep, I'm going to be nervous. I am. And so what am I going to do?
Embracing it.
I don't know about embracing it, but what am I going to do with it? Like, I don't, what am I going to do it? And I know that I don't feel nervous or afraid very often. So when I do feel those emotions, they're extremely uncomfortable for me because they're not your feelings for me. I'm very seldom nervous about things, but it's going to be it's going to be, I enjoy singing all the music. Like, it's going to be fine. It's going to be good. And what is it about singers who can't say it's going to be a great recital and not feel, can you tell I'm struggling with my hair? And not say, gosh, that sounds conceited, or, oh, I should be more humble, or, but it is going to be a good recital. My pianist is great. The music's lovely, barring I don't like faint on the floor or something, which
I don't think that's going to happen. You're well prepared. You know the music. It will be lovely.
Yeah, I learned a few new things, but I know, but they're locked and loaded and ready to go. We've been practicing long enough. So I'm going to be nervous on Thursday. It does frighten me to do that, especially after having not sung really at all in almost 2 years. Well, okay, so I'd sang right before COVID hit. I was singing out in California, and that's the last time I really sang something. So, it's just weird to be singing again. And every time I step out and don't have on a mask, I'm like, oh my God, I should have on a mask. Where's my mask? And then you go, I don't have to wear it anymore. This is awesome. Anyway, it's a weird place to be, doing things that we were doing with no problem. And then also, like I said, it's always been a thing of nerves for me. But I did take some classes in mindfulness this summer.
Tell us more.
So, for those of you who don't know, I'm working on another master's degree, and I won't go into why or any of that here. But anyway, just don't judge me. All right. I know I already have degrees, but it's free. I will say that it's free. So it started out as something I was just curious about and wanted to see if I would like it. And it turned out that I love it. And so decided to stay in it. And so I've had the opportunity to take some mindfulness classes because of the degree. And the degree is in psychotherapy, by the way, just so you're like, what is that? And so there's a huge movement and practice of mindfulness as a form of psychotherapy. And of course, that intrigues me, and I like that and love all the neuroscience behind it and stuff. So took the classes, and I have learned, some coping strategies, not just
you get to apply this week.
I get to apply this week because as part of those classes, one of the things that we had to do was to try to, write some papers and do some research and stuff. And I chose what can help people with performance anxiety. So I've been trying to stay in that space of being really mindful about that fear and about that anxiety, a nervousness, I would call it. Not so much anxiety, it's just being nervous, little apprehensive, maybe. I don't know. I think of anxiety as somebody who's like really sweating and, has major heart palpitations. What happens for me is I get sweaty palmed, my knees shake a little bit. I get very easily distracted. So if somebody picks their nose in the audience, I'm gone. I'm out. I'm
I wish I could put a news bulletin out to everyone who's attending. Please don't pick your nose during Denise's. She's liable to hand you a tissue,
falls asleep. And I mean, that's happens, right? Or
Oh, everything can happen. Someone can die. Someone can cry. Yeah, we've talked about those wild stuff happen.
gets up and walks out, or somebody's cell phone goes off, or whatever. And if I'm at a kind of a heightened state of feeling anxious and feeling afraid, then those things can take me down a really deep rabbit hole very quickly, and I can become not present. And so I have really been working while we've been practicing on being very present during that recital and during the practicing of the recital. And I was like maybe 2 rehearsals ago, super not present, forgot words all the time, you know, all of the things, forgot an entrance, whatever. And my accompanist was just laughing. She was like, "What's up with you today?"
Are you?
Yeah. And she's like, "What? You haven't done this at all?" And I'm like, "Well, I can tell you why. It's because I allowed myself to go down a rabbit hole in my thoughts and did not stay present." And so, you know, I have learned definitely some techniques for being present, putting myself in my body, feeling my feet, seeing the words on the back wall as they go by. That keeps me very present. Thinking about my breath, but not in a way of the singer's breath and how I must take, you know, my diaphragm, but being aware of my breath and how it can better serve me as a singer, not over breathing, not causing myself more vagus nerve disruption by over breathing and trying to be a good singer with my breath, but rather be smart about my breath. And those things really have helped me stay grounded in being mindful during the rehearsal process. So after the recital, I'll let you know how it goes.
Well, I'm sure it's going to be awesome. And I want to jump in there and say all those crazy things I was sharing earlier are all exercises that force you to be present.
Oh, yes, right. Like if you got to think about your feet up a mountain, or you might plummet to your death, then
You're real present. When some of the ladders, as I mentioned, were so narrow that you couldn't put both feet on at the same time. So you had to slowly and methodically put one foot. You're going down back. Climbing up wasn't so bad, but going down backwards, or how you're holding onto that chain, or being in the airplane and being Lucille Ball and thinking, do not pull the pull cord, Tony. Keep your hand over here. You don't want the parachute, exploding inside the plane because there was nothing to hold on to. I had to be fully present. I literally had to find something because I did have that crazy fear. But I think the tie-in between the singing and all the things that I mentioned is it all requires presence. And as a result of that, I feel I'm more present in other areas of life, and life is richer. I'm really in a very uncertain place, but I've got to say I'm very happy, So I think that's a good place to kind of wrap it up and encourage everybody to go out and be present to whatever scares you, whether that's literal or figuratively, and apply that to your singing and see what happens. See if you're more present.
We'd love to hear for those of you who are going back to singing now that you're finally getting to go back to singing, and maybe you've been doing it over the summer. We'd love to hear what your experiences have been and how much you're enjoying being able to perform.
Absolutely. Last night I was at an outdoor concert, big music festival, and I sat there and just took a moment for gratitude of we're here because of the vaccine. I don't mean to get political, but if things hadn't shifted, we wouldn't be here now. And I just felt a sense of joy and wonderment watching everybody and watching the performers. It was a huge concert, without mask, and what a gift that is. And so also to wrap up, if you haven't subscribed to our newsletter, I tell a story from Flow Genome Camp about an exercise that both Denise and I have done that's really fosters creativity. And there's an article, a link for improvisation for creativity. And so sign up for the newsletter. And if you don't get October's newsletter, you can still read it on the website. I met when I was traveling. I was in Bellingham, Washington, waiting for my COVID test analysis to process so I could get to Canada and see my daughter for my other adventures. And I got to do some pretty cool musical things. And those I won't reveal their names yet. Guests are going to be coming on soon. So we're glad to be back. And as we said, it wasn't a fight, just a break and out enjoying life. And so thanks for joining us and share with us your stories of the things you've embraced singing again and your fears. So that's all I have, Denise. You have anything else?
No. Go sing, people. And
Go do it anyway. Do it anyway.
Stay mindful.
As the poem. Yeah, as the poem says, do it anyway. Okay. Ciao.
Ciao.
Thank you so much for listening. We are very grateful that you joined us today.
If you like this podcast, please subscribe, write a review, share it with a friend.